Trust that it's fast, guys.
Good morning. Welcome to the 2018 AMJ Campbell Nova Scotia Provincial Junior Curling Championships here at Lakeshore Curling Club in Sackville, Nova Scotia. This morning's feature game on Ice C will be Team Gray versus Team Young. And it looks like Team Gray will be Yellow Rocks and Team Young will have the hammer. I am Chris Mosier, and I'll be walking you through the games this morning, and I'll update you on the other games as we progress through this morning. So Team Justin Gray out of the Mayflower Curling Club, and Team Ethan Young out of the Mayflower Curling Club as well. This is an elimination game. Both teams have 2 losses, and the losing team will be eliminated from this year's provincials. Team Gray just put their first rock just in front of the rings. No, go ahead. And Team Young's first rock, just a little heavy, sliding out the back. Gives the opportunity for, whoops, sorry about that. For Justin's team to come behind the guard they just put up. So a couple of the other games that are going on here this morning is on Sheet B. We have Team Emmanuel against Team Abraham. On Sheet D, we have Sweeney playing Lafort, and that also is an elimination game, so I'll keep you updated on that game. And over on Sheet E, we have Team Weagle playing Team Sukulik. So nice early morning game. Not too many people out on the bleachers yet this morning, but I think as the morning goes on and more people start to trickle in, you'll see some more players out on the ice, and there's a few early morning spectators here behind the glass. Lots of parents. This is Chris Churchill's first rock. Just playing a little hit and roll out. Going to have the pleasure of Karen Skiffington joining me in a little bit. She's just got a few things to do, and she's going to come over and we'll walk you through this morning's game. This is Mackenzie Noss. Mackenzie's from Bridgewater, so this team here in Justin Gray is a little bit of Bridgewater, a little bit of Halifax playing together here. They do curl out of the Mayflower. Rock's just going to slide behind the button here. So Ethan's got a couple opportunities here. He could sit on it, which it looks like what he's going to do, or he could try to take it out. It's pretty early to start playing aggressive, but you know, if you're feeling comfortable with the ice, why not? It makes for much better viewing. So on the right-hand side of the screen, you have Chris Churchill. And on the left-hand side, going down as a sweeper, is Kieran McIntosh, and he's the third. Boys are just watching the rock coming down here now. Trying to play a little freeze, or looks like it's going to be maybe a little bit of a bump. Didn't quite get over far enough. So it rolls out to second shot. Justin's elected to come down and sit on top of his own. His is behind the button, so that's a good opportunity to come down and freeze on top of it. Definitely putting some pressure on Ethan. Ethan does have the hammer, but definitely put some pressure on him. So the three boys there you're looking at on the screen as we get down from Justin's team, they just qualified for Canada Winter Games play down. So the three of them will play, or one of the top four teams that'll play down on the boys' side for the provincial playdowns, or the Canada Games playdowns in March of 18, and then we'll represent the winning team of those four teams. Will represent Nova Scotia in the Canada Winter Games in Red Deer in February of 19, I believe it is. I think it's February. So Mackenzie's just slid through the back there. This leaves an opportunity for Ethan to come down and sit on top of it. One thing we noticed yesterday watching these sheets is that when you get close to the out in the wings, it's very straight. A little bit of movement in the center, but if you have your weight up, it'll hang very straight. So the boys are kind of almost sweeping the rock a little bit on the corner there, trying to almost carve it in there. It's got a long way to go and was just a little bit light. So that leaves Justin another opportunity to come in there. So both teams here are using the Nova Scotia Curling Association's rocks. And they use these rocks for different events. Usually provincial events throughout the province, throughout the year, and so they don't get a lot of use. They're very lively rocks, maybe a little bit more lively than your local club rocks, but they've been running very straight, and now there's a big debate: is it the rocks or is it the ice? And you know, that's a question we've been asking ourselves for years, so nobody really knows the answer. There's lots of theories, but that one just hung a little bit straight there, just sailed out the back. So the boys are just adjusting to the weight here. The ice has been very quick, almost 16 seconds hog to hog, and I'll put a clock on it there a little later on, let you know where we're at, but this one's just sailing. It's the weight on these rocks are if you're heavy at all, it'll run straight. And you've noticed probably 3 rocks anyways have come down that path and not moved. You almost got to be just to the top 12, and then the sweeper's got to bring it in. And once it gets to that center line, it'll definitely carve over there. So they're just figuring out the ice a little bit. It's pretty cold here in Halifax or Sackville, and takes a little bit to for the boys to see how the ice is reacting this morning. Sometimes if it's really cold out, that'll affect the ice in the shed. This is a fairly new facility, so it affects it a little less than other games. See, the weight was down a little bit. You can see how that one started to come over a little bit. So Kieran's coming out here. Kieran looks like he's throwing a little bit of weight here. He's going to try to move a few rocks. And that was a really good shot by Kieran. And looks like the shooter even hung on there. So that was a great shot by Kieran. The tables have turned. So at this point, Justin's just kind of looking at a hit and either a hit and stick, maybe a hit and roll behind the guard, but I think he'd be happy just to hit and stick there. This is Justin's first rock. Justin's 17. These guys are a little bit younger, not too much than some of the other teams, but Justin's 17, so he's the oldest one on the team here. And as I was talking about earlier, he's aged out for the Canada Winter Games trials, so the other guys just kind of put a team together. Boys are sweeping this one pretty hard. And just a little flop to the inside. I think you'll probably see Ethan hit this, and maybe he'll even try to flop over a little more. If he can get over behind those two guards there, if he could roll over maybe a couple feet, I guess, that'll give that'll put a little bit of pressure on Justin. If you're in the Halifax area, I invite you to come in and watch some of the curling. It's great curling here. They've got bleachers out on the ice, which is great. Great spectating. Feels like you're right part of the action. And the bleachers are starting to fill up this morning. I will tell you it's warmer out on the ice than it is outside here in Halifax. It's a little brisk coming in this morning. That one's starting to cut towards the center line. Did he get it? And he did, and he rolled it. Just looks like it might have rolled just a little bit too far. So Ethan's got two blue rocks there just hanging on the outer edges of the 12-foot. Justin's looking at trying to come in behind that guard there, just in front of the, either in front of the 4-foot or in front of the button would be perfect, right where he tapped there. Ideally, that's where he'd like to get to. So all these rocks, or all these games are timed. They start. Both teams start with 38 minutes, and each team gets two 90-second timeouts. And based on it's thinking time we use. So that's basically when the rock stops going down the sheet. They will. The clock will start for the other team until their rock crosses the closest tee line. And that way it's a little different than we used to do it a few years ago. And that was a great draw by Justin. So Justin's sitting at 2 at this point. This will be Ethan's last rock, so last rock in the end. Ethan's just going to try to come down and just move it back a little bit for his one, where it being in front of the tee line. He has to hit and stick there. A little bit of roll is okay as well. But as long as he makes contact with it and doesn't outroll the yellow one there on the left-hand side of your screen, Ethan should get his one. Don't think there's any opportunity there for a double. Boys are hammering this one pretty hard. Oh, there seems to be a lot of screaming out there. It's starting to cut hard toward the center line. I think it's by, just by. Great shot, looks like, by Ethan. And perfect. Ethan will get his one rock, or his 1 point. So after the first end, it'll be 1-0 for Ethan Young from Mayflower over Justin Gray from Mayflower, and Team Gray will have the hammer. I'm just going to step off the microphone for 1 second, and I'll be right back. Back for the second end there. Sorry about that. So the first rock just settled in the back of the 8-foot. Justin looks like he's going to throw up a center guard here. And after the first end, just looking on sheet B there, Team Abraham, I believe, was forced to 1, so it's 1-0 for Team Abraham. And it looks like over in sheet E, it is 1-0, I believe, for Team, 1-0 for Team Weagle. And the other game, I haven't put the scores up yet. So I'll try to keep you updated as best I can as we go through the morning. So Justin just threw up a corner guard there. And Ethan's going to try to come down. Boys are bringing it in nice and close. I think it looks like he wanted it somewhere around the top 4 foot. Exactly what he called for, so that's good. So this is Justin Arnberg. He's from Bridgewater. He's 16. He curled for 9 years. Grade 11 student at Parkview Education Center. Good shout out to Parkview. That's where I went to school myself more than 1 or 2 years ago. And he's a lefty. So that gives a little bit of a different aspect when coming out of the hack. And, you know, some teams use that as an advantage. It's not a huge advantage, but, oh, just jammed the back one. But that's good, though. Team Gray is still sitting the 1. Ethan's going to try to take it out and kind of just roll over there on top of the blue one there, kind of almost where Ethan's got his broom at. If he could get a little bounce there. So Aiden Kavanaugh, he's 15. He's a grade 10 student at Prince Andrew High School. He's been curling for 10 years. And he's a big competitive golfer in the summer. won the 2017 Brightwood Bantam Curling Championships, Golf Championships. These guys have been together for quite a few years now, so I'm just looking to see if it says here. They've been here 7 years, so I would say they've almost been together since they started curling. Mackenzie, he also is from Bridgewater. Mackenzie Noss, 16. He's a grade 11 student at Parkview, and he's looking at going to NSCC in the future as electrical construction and industrial. He works 2 jobs. Wow, he's a busy guy when he's not curling or in school. He's a lefty, but he throws right. Huh, interesting. So Ethan, I looked down for a sec. I was just looking at the bios. I'm not sure what he's calling here, if he's trying to rip the guard or he's throwing up a center guard. Based on that weight, I think he's ripping the guard. So Ethan doesn't want to be too aggressive here this morning. Not in this end anyways. With 10 ends, you'll normally see teams take a few ends to settle in, and not a lot of rocks in play, and that also frees up the clock for some time towards the end. So because as the games get more complex, there's obviously more thinking time, and if you use it too much up in the beginning, you don't want to be rushing with your last rock at the very end of the game. So the boys are hammering this one coming down the sheet. This is just a simple hit, and maybe roll to the wings if they can. Just off nose. Looks like we're going to play a very open end here. Ethan's not wasting no time. So you can see how they tap different parts of their body, and that's kind of a little signal to the thrower as to how much weight they want them to throw, whether or not they want them to throw big weight or little weight. Teams all refer to it different as hack weight or normal or board, and every team has a slightly different signal. I see they just updated sheet D, and sheet D is Sweeney and Lafort. And it looks like Sweeney got 2 in the first end. So it's 2-0 for Sweeney over Lafort from the Sydney Curling Club. This is Jason Giroud throwing this one. He's a city guy. He plays out of the Mayflower Curling Club. He's 16. He's been curling for 8 years. He's a grade 11 student at Cole Harbour High. He plans to study non-destructive testing at the College of North Atlantic. Interesting. To be honest, I'm not sure what that is. And he plays trumpet. So multi-talented, and that's the great thing about curling is you get a lot of players that are either great golfers or some play baseball or instruments. So everybody does multiple sports, and I think that's so important in this day to be multi-talented. So Kieran's just throwing a guard here into the ring, or a rock into the rings, just in the middle of the 8-foot. So if you're just watching, we refer to the rings as in feet. So the button being the white dot in the center, 4-foot is the red circle that goes around, the 8-foot being the white circle, and the 12-foot being the blue circle. Color of the rings are totally really not dependent upon points or anything like that. Curling is similar to lawn bowling, where basically closest to the pin gets the point. And that was a nice little hit and roll over to the wings. Looks like it'll stick around there. So it just changes by moving the rock around in the rings, it changes the approach for Ethan. So now Ethan has to go over to the wings, and the wings can be a little challenging because you have to ensure you're lined up from the hack when you're throwing the rock. So, the ice is a little different when you get over there because there's not as much action over there. So there could be a little bit of frost out on the wings, or it could be a little bit extra pebble. The rock might grab a little more and get a little more curl. So just trying to make it a little tough and hope Justin's just hoping that he might get a miss out of Ethan. So just coming down. Great shot by Ethan, just rolls into the 8-foot. Again, he just changes it a little bit for Justin. So Justin doesn't get to see what ice. By moving that rock a little bit, it changes the ice that Justin has to take. And the angle's a little different. So I do a little bit of coaching on the side here. And one thing you'll notice is, I always tell the boys, stand behind the other player so you can watch to see what they're taking for ice. But the release and how the rock affects the release, how many rotations the rock is going down the ice, all that stuff affects the game. So it's a lot harder than you would think just watching at home. And I had the pleasure of my work ran an event for a bunch of international people who are here for meetings in Halifax, and a lot of them had never been on the ice before. And they were just amazed at how hard the curling was when they came out. And it was kind of funny because I had some guys one guy was from Australia, and he'd never ever stepped on ice before. And they were taking pictures of themselves on the ice, and the one guy was so excited so he could take pictures of himself on the ice and throwing curling rocks, and he was sending them to his daughter home. So it's definitely a lot harder than it looks. So that was a bit of a miss there by Justin. So this leaves the opportunity for Ethan to come down and throw another rock in the rings. And that'll kind of put the force on Justin so they can't blank this end, and he'll give the hammer back. But for all that to happen, Ethan has to put his rock in the rings here. So the boys are just backing off here a little bit right now. Just keeping it clean. Seems to look pretty good. One thing here we've noticed is you can really drag the rocks quite a bit. And that was a great shot by Ethan. So that puts a bit of pressure on Justin. He's got to hit and basically stick there. And for Justin to get his one, and that'll tie it up. So right now they're just talking about what handle or which way they want to come at that rock. Anything outside in, it's fairly straight. And then if you're coming off the center line, it'll get a little bit of curl out of it. So they're just looking at different options, and it looks like Justin's elected to play the straight handle coming from the outside in. And he's got lots of room there, so he could hit it just off nose, and as long as it doesn't outroll the other blue one in the rings, that should be pretty good. Some teams might elect to play a draw here, and that's perfectly fine. It's what the person throwing the rock, essentially, that's how I always look at it, what they're comfortable with. If they're comfortable throwing the draw. So the boys are hammering this pretty hard, but I think it looks pretty good coming down the sheet here. That's a perfect shot. So that'll be 1 point for Justin Gray out of the Mayflower. And so that's we're all tied up here after 2 ends of play. Ethan Young will take back the hammer. And for the third end, I have the lovely Karen Skiffington sitting down with me. So the two of us will be bringing you the rest of the morning gathered here. And Karen's she's one of the big organizers for this event here in Lakeshore. And she's also the manager of the Lakeshore Curling Club. Good morning, Karen.
Good morning, Chris. Looks like an exciting game here we've got going on Sheet C.
Yeah, it's pretty good, actually. Both teams are playing really well. Had a lot of rocks in play in the first end. It was a little cleaner in the second end, but it was pretty good.
So well-matched teams now.
Yes, very.
And I believe this is a sudden death match.
This is a sudden death match for both these teams, yeah. So unfortunately, one of them gets to do something else tomorrow or after this game. Probably won't be curling. Well, it might be, but it just won't be here.
The unfortunate thing here at these events is not everybody can advance through, and we like to see everybody be successful. Unfortunately, only one team can go to nationals. So.
Yeah, no. And all these teams put in so much time playing in league games during the week and practicing after school and in the evenings and weekends and going to spiels. So, and these teams here are both younger teams, so they have other opportunities to either come back next year or even go in under 18s. I believe they're all eligible for under 18s, these guys. So that's nice. So this is for these guys specifically, where they're a little younger. It gives them the opportunity for to gain some experience and to come back.
Yeah, definitely an opportunity to get some good shots in, see what it's like to play under time clocks, see what the other teams are doing that are at the same level, so that they can, meet those goals that they have for this season. Our under 18s, I believe, are in March, so they've got a little bit of time to prepare and get some notes and work on a few things over the next couple of months.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure their coaches are charting every little thing and keeping track of where they can improve on. And you know what? They're all the teams here are pretty evenly matched. Like a lot of the games haven't been really big blowouts. They're really close games, so that's nice to see too. Maybe not so much if you're the coach or you're the player, but as a spectator, it's great when the games are close. Unless maybe you're a parent, that can be a little stressful. But.
And you're experiencing that this week, aren't you, Chris?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit.
So Team Grey using the free guard zone quite a bit here in the third end. My first end, but the third end here.
Yeah. So this is Aiden Kavanaugh. He's going to try to come in behind here. Boys are on-off is always a good sign. That usually means that it's pretty close. And they're not sweeping it terribly hard, but they're pushing it. It's starting to look pretty good. You can see it's starting to come across the center line there, because once it gets to that center line, it'll definitely come, but just a little light.
Yeah, you might see a little bit of finish if you can throw the weight that's just a little bit lighter so the sweepers can come into play and carry it for you.
Exactly, yeah. That little bit of movement is when you bring your weight down. If you anything high in weight, and it just is dead straight going down the sheet. So Justin looks like he's going to try to go out to the wings and come around. It's Mackenzie. Mackenzie earlier in the week wasn't feeling so good. He had to do a little quick swing by the Cobequid Medical Center. He was feeling a little faint, but he was leading up to Christmas. I think he was bouncing around with the flu.
Yeah, we've had a few medical under the weather.
Yeah.
A couple teams playing with 3 last night, but hopefully everybody got a good night's sleep and got rested, get some fluids in them, and nice to see them back on the ice.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's you would think playing with 3 players, like, oh, it's not that bad. If you're the sweeper, it's a lot of work.
All the pressure's on you, the highlight, the spotlight, yeah.
And
so I think we're seeing a lot of the teams start to play a little bit closer to the rings with their guards, with not getting that finish now.
It seems like it, yeah. And that's one thing that's great is every sheet of curling ice, and sometimes even within the same facility, is different. So, by some of these kids, maybe they have never curled here, but the ice is everybody knows the ice at one club is a little different than another club. So that's a great thing to play on multiple sheets in different events, because you learn that, and you learn that, I've got to take more ice at this club, or to make that shot I have to take more ice. So that's great, and it's a lot of work on the skip, because he's always thinking, or she's always thinking.
Really nice little tap here that Team Young did to get their blue into the nibbling on the top there.
It is. It's just nibbling, and it's not easy to get out there. Justin can't run his yellow one back there because it'll catch the top blue one. And I think anything outside on the blue, it'll jam. Now, I'm not sure if it will be on if he does jam it, but it looks like that's what he's going to try. One thing I think I mentioned earlier, these rocks are very lively, so anywhere as you catch them, they're going to see a lot of bounce, we'll say. And I'm not an expert on how the rocks are made exactly or how they work, but with them being lively, I think it all goes to the striking band, which is that kind of little bit different color gray coming down the center is what gives the rock its liveliness. He just got a little outside on that and clipped the top one. Not sure if that other yellow one is on or not.
Sometimes hard for us to tell with the camera angles.
So as I look around the sheets here, on sheet B, Team Manuel and Abraham, it's all tied up after 2 ends. And it looks like on sheet E, who is Wiggle and Sokolic, that game's all tied up as well. They haven't put the score up on sheet D, and that's Sweeney and Lafort. It's still 2-0 for Sweeney. And that game is also an elimination game, if I remember correctly, Karen.
Yes, and our colleagues down at the other end of our space here are broadcasting that one on the other sheet, D. So if you are switching back and forth between the two, all this excitement.
So that was a good little shot there. He just clipped the top one and took the one off the top of the rings, and the shooter or the other yellow one rolled out. So there's no rocks in play here. But we've got 3 tight guards up there. So looks like Justin's going to try to come down the middle there and bury in behind on the 4-foot.
Yeah, with that stone removal, Young's kind of opened up that front a little bit for Gray to get in.
Boys are starting to hammer this. You can see it's starting to cut to the center there. Is it on the card?
Looks like it might be on the little rub there.
I almost think if they would have swept that the whole way, they might have got that by there. It might have been a great shot. Maybe a little bit of a sweeping missed call there. It's easy to make decisions behind the glass, because behind the glass I always curl 100%.
Yeah, me too for some reason.
So Ethan looks like he's going to try to come in through that hole. The hole's a little smaller now. So this is the boy. It must be a little heavy. The boys are just kind of following it down.
Looks like it's tracking a little wider as well.
Yeah.
So.
You could get that over in a little wicky-ticky in, but...
That's a highly technical term there, Chris.
Wicky-ticky? Yeah, I like that one. Unfortunately, it didn't get over quite as far, and he raised Justin's rock in. If I was Justin, I may try to bury one in there somehow.
If you could kiss off yours a little bit, you might be able to split them and get them both behind
cover.
cover.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. That'd be a great opportunity for him.
Some discussion if the guard might be just as good. Gray's looking to steal, so a guard may not be a bad thing either.
It's kind of a defensive move per se. That rock's pretty high up there, so it still would leave if Ethan had a draw. He's still got a lot of room there to draw into. But we'll see what happens here. He's just throwing the guard by the looks of things.
Certainly a lot of options. It's great as a skip to be able to put the broom down and say, this is the shot, but here's a couple options if, there's a sweeping error or a slip in the hack.
That one just seemed to overcurl a little bit on him. Fortunately, he didn't really get much of guard on it. The yellow one's still wide open, and that leaves the opportunity for Ethan to hit and a little roll behind that big pile there in the center. You can hear the noise from out in the sheets. As the week goes on, the intensity level slowly goes up, and the players get a little louder on the ice.
It's good to see the passion and the youth for the sport that way.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah. Shot might roll a little too far, but overall well thrown.
So now this leaves Justin the opportunity to basically hit this one and roll back the other way behind the pile.
Seems if you want to get behind cover, you have to hit and roll there or raise there.
Yeah, it's hard to draw in behind for sure. One thing I coach a junior team, and we were practicing here a few weeks ago, was raises. And we'll just say it didn't go as well as I had hoped. It seemed pretty easy in theory, but I don't know. I don't know how many rocks we thrown. I think we got 2 or 3 really good ones, and the rest were so-so. So it's a lot harder than it looks to throw the race.
Yeah, when you think about what 2 pieces of each rock actually hit each other, it's a very, very small portion of that stone. So the accuracy that you would need to get the line on the stone being raised is quite precise.
You're right, and then the one rock is rotating, so... Oh, this looks good, I think.
Wow.
Oh, is it going to roll too far?
It just rolls back 4 foot in the open area.
Yeah, so that now leaves Ethan a shot for another hit and roll behind that big pile. Nobody seems to want to roll behind the pile. They keep rolling to the open spot. You can see Ethan's not taking a lot of ice on this, so it'll run pretty straight down here. In the first end, we saw, I think, 3 rocks that didn't move at all come down that same path. So Ethan's remembering that from his first end. As a skip, you're always trying to think, well, what happened there? I always look like you're a team, so not one person wins and one person loses. So it's great that, if you don't remember something, you can ask your team, hey, what happened here in the first end? Did it curl here? Was it straight? And with any luck, your team is into the game, and they'll give you some feedback.
Once played on a team, we each had a quadrant of the sheet that we were responsible for, so each of the 4 players had to kind of pay attention, so the skip didn't have to remember everything.
Oh, that's a good idea. Ethan didn't get the roll, so now that leaves Justin the opportunity for the roll. Actually, is this Justin's last rock?
I believe this is Justin's last rock, because Ethan has hammer here, so
he's going to want to try to roll behind that pile.
Yeah.
So you might see him even take a little bit less ice than Ethan, because it didn't move at all coming down the sheet. So basically where he's got it, he's basically signifying that rock isn't going to move at all. So where he throws it, it may almost hit it. You could almost even probably take a little bit less ice on that. Let's see what happens here.
Looks like it's tracking quite wide there.
Yeah, it does seem like it's, and sometimes your release, based on how you release the rock, that's going to roll into the open. I think it'll give Ethan a chance to blank this end here.
Although he did move it to a path that we haven't been using quite regularly, so it could still be a little tricky out there.
That's true, yeah. When you get out in the wings, because it's not used as much, it could be a little frosty. The pebbler could be a little fresher, so the rock might grab and you might get a little more curl out of it. And it looks to me like he's coming inside out, so I do find that on this sheet that a little bit of movement from inside out. Oh, maybe not. Maybe he's just taking negative ice. This is Ethan's last rock of the third end.
Trying to blank here.
Like this one's going to stick around. So Ethan will take 1 point in the third end. So it'll be 2-1 Ethan over Justin Gray of Mayflower after 3 ends of play, and Justin Gray will remain with, or take hammer. Just looking around at the other sheets here, the games are all pretty close. Oh, I see on sheet D, Lafort tied it up, so it's a tie game after 2 ends of play, 2-2, for Team Sweeney from Yarmouth and Team Lafort from Sydney. So we got total opposite ends of the province playing against one another there. I don't know how many spiels they both go in, that they're both in, that they play one another. So
it's certainly hard on the team budget if you have to travel quite a ways. So
a bit of a jaunt.
We see some kids out here with quite a few sponsors, so that certainly helps with the parents' travel if they...
Yes, yeah. The teams usually all have their sponsors on their jackets, signifying who's helping them out, and sometimes it's money rewards or deals on hotels or whatever they can get, essentially, just to kind of cut down on that cost for the parents. And when you start entering a lot of events, and that's really how you're going to get better, is going in more events all the time.
Yeah, because some of these kids are still in the 15, 16 years of age, so still reliant on some parents to travel and get them to places.
Yep.
So big shout out to all those moms and dads that travel to all these curling rinks, and we see each other pretty much every weekend.
Pretty much. There's a lot of that, and there's a circuit, I guess you could say, that the competitive teams, for the most part, will all play on. And you see one another every other weekend, especially like October through December. It's a lot of cash spiels here in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and PEI, and it's the same teams every weekend. But it's always nice, too, to get out and play somebody different sometimes. I know the manual team on Sheet B here, they went over and they were in Ontario. A couple different teams will travel inland. But again, that eats up your budget pretty fast if you're starting to pay for plane tickets.
Yeah, I think that was reflective in the seeding at the beginning of this event. Two of our top two seeds for this event qualified through tour points.
Yep.
So if you're not participating in events that are accumulating points, you don't get that opportunity to advance into those positions. So I think you saw them taking a little bit more time off to rest and reflect on each of those weekends and be better prepared for this weekend. But the disadvantage was the seeding. They had to go through a qualifier to advance. So.
Yeah. So I think we had, 10 teams signed up, I think, for 8 spots. So 2 of the teams didn't qualify this year, but they still gained a lot of experience by playing these teams that are here, even though they didn't qualify for the provincials. So that's always good.
Yes, and this junior under-21 level is the only level that plays 10 ends other than a Tankard or Scotties here in our province. So it's an opportunity to experience the 10 end games. You're playing under a time clock, so learning how to adjust to thinking time, things like that are all certainly part of your learning curve as a team.
Oh, for sure. And even so we have the umpires here this morning that are here for this whole event. So they're on the ice, they're watching, and making sure that all the rules are being followed. Curling pretty much rules itself. The players, they're very, if they burn a rock or they touch a rock, they'll call it themselves. But the umpires are out here to help out with measurements and, making sure everything's on the up and up. And big shout out to them because they were out there standing on the ice, and you can only imagine after 10 ends it gets a little brisk out there.
Yeah, and they're doing 4 draws a day as well. So big shout out. The first one's here in the morning, last one's to leave, other than the ice makers. So 5 days of event here this week. So
we got 2 guards up. We got a corner guard up, and just an off the nose center or off the center line guard up. And 1 rock in the rings here. Looks to me like Justin's going to try to come behind that corner guard, I think.
Yeah, try to set up an opportunity for a deuce here with the hammer. Some discussion from the team whether the guard would be preferable, although with hammer I don't think you want too many in the free guard zone.
No, you want that little area right in front of the center of the rock, just in front of the rings, is kind of referred to as the control zone. So you want to try to keep that open if you have the hammer. Because as a skip, you always want to leave yourself a path if you have the hammer to the button in case you have to draw there with your last rock. So that doesn't always work out, but I don't know if there's a Curling for Dummies book, but if there was one, that'd be probably
I
one
believe
of the...
there is.
Is there? So he looks like he's going around that corner guard there on the left.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity to get one in under cover, and then if Team Young decides to go after that yellow, you could probably potentially trade rocks the rest of the end, and yellow would end up with deuce at the end.
Yeah. And let's see, they just put the score up on E between Weagle and Sokolik. And it looks like Weagle got another point, so it's 2-1 over Sokolik after 3 ends of play.
It's a very close game. Too many breakaways yet?
Not yet, no.
No high sticking?
No high sticking, no fist fights.
No.
So that one just kind of just settled at the back of the rings. I believe it's out of the rings. Yeah, just out of play there. You can just see it at the bottom of the right-hand side of your screen. So Ethan's going to try to hit this and roll behind one of the guards. Ideally, because he doesn't have the hammer, he'd probably want to go to the center.
You'd always want to use your own guard, preferably over someone else's.
This one seems to be taking off on him a little bit. Oh, he jammed it. So that rock that really didn't look like it was going to come into play, it was still in play. He jammed it on, and now Justin has got one sitting in the back of the 12-foot back there now. So it's not rock, but those little nibblers around the edge of the 12-foot, they can come back to haunt you.
So Justin choosing to ignore the blue stone on the left of our screen and draw around.
Mackenzie's just trying to throw a nice draw here. The ice is very quick this week, and that's great. Very, very similar. Whoa, that one seems to really be starting to cut hard. Is it going to get by the guard? Okay. Just a little rub off the guard, but it does roll into the rings, and it is shot rock. So I believe it's wide open. I don't think it got over there behind the... You can't quite see the blue one. There we go. Yeah, that's wide open there. So Ethan's going to just try to play a little bump, hit, and roll behind his blue guard up there. And I just see they updated sheet B there. Looks like Team Manual stole one on Abraham, so it's 2-1 for Manual after 3 ends of play. Just a little bit of an inside roll there, but I think it's still pretty much wide open. Yep, still wide open.
So Justin just rechecking the angles here, see if maybe he can get behind cover if he gets the right piece of this stone.
See all the players out here, they have the same color broom head or fabric on the end of their broom. So there was a broom moratorium that came out here a few years ago. This is 2 years ago now. And before, with the older fabric, some of the high performance teams, just rub that guard. Ooh,
that back one's now no longer a factor.
A little bit of an unfortunate miss there. Before, with the older fabric, some of the high performance teams could almost carve the rock in behind guard. So they come out with a moratorium, I guess Curl Canada did in the World Curling Association, that everybody will use the same fabric and everybody's on the same playing field. And it kind of takes that ability to carve rocks behind, but you'll see how they still do a little bit of directional sweeping sometimes, like you just see them switch there. So right now they're trying to hold that rock a little bit straighter. And that's why they switch back and forth, or one guy will be sweeping and the other guy won't be. It's not as effective maybe as it used to be, but they still do it. And I think maybe if you push on it hard enough, you might get a little bit of movement there.
Yeah, I think sometimes you'll see the one sweeper when you're looking for line. If you're looking for a distance, you sometimes see both sweepers down.
Yes, for sure, yeah. So Ethan's putting a little pressure on Justin here. He's got 3 rocks in play. Justin does have the hammer, but he doesn't have a real clear path to get in there.
So just looking to try and get that opened up right now.
Jason's coming down there. They're watching. It's curling across there nicely.
Roll over onto the other one.
Oh, that was
Across
a very good
double.
shot. Yeah. And that was really down weight for that, so that was really nice the way he did that. That was perfect. So Ethan's sitting the 1 now. He's not going to waste anything here. He's going to take that rock out probably want to sit there nice in the open. Doesn't want to group his rocks, so that would leave another opportunity for another double by Justin.
So Team Young here, not having the hammer, is trying to force Team Gray to score 1 so they can get the hammer back.
This is Ethan's first rock. I believe, is it both these teams their first time at the Under-21 Provincials? I know it's Ethan's. I'm not sure about Justin's.
We may have seen Team Gray last year.
I can't quite remember if he was here or not, or if Gray might have been here with another team last year himself. I don't know.
It might be a slightly different lineup last year, yes.
I'm not sure. It's hard to remember. I do know it's Ethan's first time here. They kind of, as they're getting older, they're stepping it up a little bit more, and they got the nice fancy jackets and more sponsorship Ethan does, so they went in a lot more speed to kind of bring their game to the next level.
Now the Ethan Young team, are they the Canada Games eligible?
Yes,
team?
they've qualified. They're one of the 4 teams that have qualified, and even the Justin Gray, except for Justin himself, are all qualified as well. So Justin just aged out. I can't remember who the other player is on Justin's team. I'm going to say it might be an Aaron Berg from Bridgewater, but I can't remember. I'm sure somebody will let me know. So that just clipped the guard. It was a little bit unfortunate, but Ethan's trying to cut down that center a little bit, so he's looking at maybe tapping his back and making the draw for Justin a little bit harder. I think that's what he had tapped. Sometimes one thing and then they'll talk about something else and then they'll go away, and it leaves us thinking, well, what are they actually doing here? So, and I see Sweeney and Lafort. Sweeney just got 2, so it's 4 Sweeney over Lafort after 3 ends of play.
There's not a lot of big ends scored. A lot of, do you think, a little bit less aggressive play today? Everybody's a little more evenly matched?
Could be a little bit of nerves too for those 2 center sheets, because it's an elimination game, so they don't want to give up anything, and even the 2 end sheets, you know, that'll put the loser of those games to 2 losses. So.
And the sheets B and E, I believe the winners advance to a B qualifier.
Yes, I believe so. Yes. So Emmanuel won the A qualifier yesterday. He beat Graham Weigel's team in the A qualifier, and then so I think the winner of this will go to the B qualifier.
So Ethan just came in a little heavy, but ended up splitting his 2 blue stones, making the scoring area very difficult for Justin. I believe he's elected to hit. If he does nose hit, I believe he'll get number 1 out of this.
Yeah, I think so. So I don't know if you can tell, but our circles aren't completely round, so sometimes it's a little tough to tell here who's shot, and that's just the formatting, I believe, between the cameras and the way it's streamed. I'm not a big techie on that part, but they kind of look like a little bit of an egg to me.
As long as the circles in the floor are circles, so
yes.
The players are dealing with circles. It's just us here on TV that have
yes,
holes.
Exactly. They'll know, and if they don't know, that's why another reason for the umpires. The umpires will come out and measure them, and they'll tell them who the shot rock is at the end of the end. So boys are hammering this pretty hard here, trying to keep it straight.
Got to stay on that blue stone. You don't want to hit and roll out.
No, you don't want to roll out. They're hammering it really here.
Good piece. We
looks
roll.
pretty good, yep. So that'll be a tie game after 4 ends of play, and Ethan Young will take back the hammer. So very tight game here on sheet C, and I don't think I've got any more updates for you at this point. There's a lot of rocks bopping around here. some good shots being made this week. I saw some nice doubles, and watched a little bit of the girls' game last night. There's some good shots being made there. Event's been running fairly smooth. No real big hiccups.
Not to my knowledge, anyway.
Oh, well, that's good.
The volunteers have been great. They got some junior curlers that come in and man our admissions desk, and they are just selling 50/50 tickets to help support their program. Very active junior program here at Lakeshore Curling Club. We start at 5 with our Ice Cube program, and go up through Little Rocks and into juniors. About 150 youth participate in our program between our development program and our curling leagues on Sunday mornings.
Wow, that's a lot.
So quite a very healthy, active program.
Yeah, no, that is really, I didn't realize it was that many.
Yeah, some of our league teams are dual citizens, as I call them. They're playing sometimes in other Halifax metro area clubs and also participate in our leagues. So we still like to claim them every now and then.
Oh, yeah, and that seems to be a little more common now. Like juniors, and I guess the adults as well, that they do play in clubs. You know, they may practice at one and be in a league at another one. So that's great for experience as well by doing that and having that opportunity to bounce back and forth.
Yeah, it gives them the ability to learn the different types of different ice. The ice here is a little bit different than it would be at CP Halifax or Mayflower Curling Club.
Yes.
So it gives them that opportunity to learn how to adjust to different ice surfaces, different way the stones react to the ice is a little different each time. We see that here today. The Lakeshore ice is pretty much the same. We've got a little quicker, but the stones are from the provincial
Yes.
stones, so they're not acting the exact same way our club rocks may or may not act. So even that change. So a team that curls regularly at Lakeshore is noticing a change with these stones. So.
Yeah, and that almost, I mean, I guess if you're a Lakeshore curler, so it almost puts a little bit of an even playing field with everybody else. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, that ice advantage a little bit.
Yeah, I guess if you're the home team, you're like, oh crap. But
it's a little heavy on this first draw here.
yeah, just a little bit. Just slid to the back. Will still be a biter though. As long as it's not fully behind that back line there, it's still in play. So we got a corner guard way over there in the wings, and we got center guard up, and then a rock behind it. So Ethan's not wasting no time. It looks like he's going to try to come down behind that.
So some great coverage we have here this week from the Bell TV1 crew.
Oh, they're doing a great job.
Yeah, lots of back from all the home. I heard this morning that we've had people online watching from as far away as Tasmania.
Wow.
So a shout out to all our friends and family that are tuning in.
And the quality, and I think every year or every time I see new curling or curling on TV or being streamed, I guess, it's always getting better. Like there's less hang-ups, and you know, I've heard people watching on their phones, and that's great. Like,
yeah, I'm sure there's people out in the stands listening to us through their phones and iPads. So
nobody's throwing anything at us yet, so that's a good start.
The games are too good.
Yeah.
So full house here again this morning for this men's draw. Standing room only in the warm side of the glass. Lots of room out on the ice surface. We have some bleachers set up. So
we're slowly filling up. We had about 3 or 4 people out there at the beginning of the game. There's probably almost 2 dozen out there now, maybe.
Yeah. But they're probably doing shifts so they can come in and warm up every now and then.
That's what I would do. It's not terribly cold. As I said earlier, it's way warmer out there than it is outside.
The lake behind us here will be frozen. We'll be able to have the finals on the lake.
Yes. I think it was it last week? I'm not sure. I think it was Curl Canada tweeted a photo, and it was a picture of, I don't know exactly what year it was, but it was quite a long time ago. It was in black and white of a bunch of curlers curling on a lake, and all the spectators were lined up and down the sides watching them. And I learned after it was actually Lake Minook here, in Dartmouth, which is
very cool.
Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't want to be out on a lake this morning watching a curling game. So
we've got some congestion in the front here. Team Young is trying to clear some of that out.
Oh.
Jammed on their own in the back.
It's always unfortunate when you take your own out.
sometimes those stones behind the tee line can be an advantage to the other teams. So
they can be, yep, for sure. And it's just such a, every team looks at things a little slightly different. And oh, well, I don't mind that one back there, or yeah, let's freeze up to it. So it's really hard to, and that's one great thing about curling is no one game is the same all the time. You could put two teams out there and they could play one another 5 different times, and every time it'll be slightly different. So this one's just over curling a little bit. They were trying to come behind that.
Somebody's getting a nice tap here.
Yeah, that'll work out for him. So he said Justin's sitting 2 right now, one at the top of the 12, one at the back. Almost lined up perfectly and guarded, so Ethan's going to try to open this up a little bit. I think he's going to try to peel that, and he might even get a little bit lucky and catch that one going by.
He's got some options behind. There's 2 stones there he could get caught up in and clear up some of that yellow granite on us.
Sorry about that. A little bit of a tickle this morning. This is Chris Churchill throwing here, coming down, a little bit of heat on it. Is it going to get over? Oh, got a piece. Is it going to go? Just enough.
Of course, the opponent can't sweep it until it crosses the tee line, so.
Exactly. The tee line being that line that goes right through of the rings there, right through the middle of the rings. If you're looking at it from our overhead cam, it's where the Coors Light and logo is there, right where the Justin's broom is. And if you're just tuning in, you're watching the 2018 AMJ Campbell Scotia Provincial Junior Mixed Championships from the Lakeshore Curling Club in Sackville, Nova Scotia. We're in the 5th end, all tied up. It's an elimination game. So Justin's trying to come in there. Oh, geez, I don't know if that's on or not. Ethan's looking at it. Ethan could play a little bit of a hit and roll in there, but I think
you could also raise one of your own in there, too.
You could, yeah, that's another option. So, which one is he shooting at here? Is he trying to raise the blue one back?
I thought the indication was to raise the center line forward, so.
That's what it looks like.
But a fair amount of weight on this one.
He does, yeah. And when you bring your weight up, it's starting to move there now. It almost seems like it might be a little bit more curl here this morning. Oh, it's not going to. No, I think that yellow one's in now for sure.
That point, and when you realize it's not curling enough for you, and you might have to bail on plan A and plan B, and just not quite getting the right either plan in this situation.
There seems to be a lot of wrecks this morning, and I don't know if there is a little bit more curl than there was yesterday, and they're just getting fooled on, or.
A little bit more room for Team Grey to get in here.
Yeah, see, now that one didn't seem to curl as much. That one's gonna. If we were in dough, and I'm pretty certain that yellow one's on now because we've hit it 3 times now. Ethan's looking at another raise here. The good thing is he doesn't have to raise it very far to be shot rock. But if he could just catch the blue one just a little bit on the outside, he'd drive it in there behind all those rocks and be sitting nice and shot.
Great of the stone just biting. So.
Boys are nice and close. Being close on and off is always a good sign.
So ideally you want to see the skip calling the line and the sweepers judging the weight. Is that what?
Yep, no, for sure. That's usually the best thing. And the sweepers are talking to the guy in the house all the time, saying where do they think it's going to where it's going to end up. And that was a great shot there by Aiden. Raised it behind cover. So puts a little bit of pressure on Justin here. What's he looking at? Is he trying to raise his yellow one in there maybe?
I would think it's very difficult to draw in around there and get enough of the 4 foot. I think the raise is going to be the way to go.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of ice to me, but maybe I'm wrong.
We are out on this farther path with a little bit fresher pebble.
Yep.
Catch something near the end.
Boys are on it pretty quick. Seems like it might be a little bit down. I don't know if he's going to have the weight to push it all the way to the 4 foot, but
Going to overcurl a little.
overcurl a little. Push it in a little bit. So it almost looks like Ethan's looking at playing another raise here.
I have to be careful doing another raise. Right now, that stone's very well guarded. Raise at a slightly wrong angle may open it up.
Yeah,
So
that could.
it's quite a risky shot.
That is a very risky shot. Because if he catches that at a bad angle, opens that up at all, then
Justin's got the opportunity to get in there.
yeah,
So.
and there's a lot of granite to hide behind, and so you can see Aiden's eyes are drifting off there at the other sheet. So these guys they're talking. They're the whole on the sheet. You know, Aiden will be calling the line for this because he knows exactly where he has to hit that rock to push it in. So he's calling the line, and the sweepers are calling for weight, whether or not they're going to have to sweep it or if he's got the weight to raise it back. So it's a very tricky shot here. Ooh, a little bit of a speed wobble.
Some communication between the team. It looks like they think it might be close weight-wise, or we're just looking on the line. Very nice shot.
Very nice shot, yes.
Good communication. I think key to some of those great shots is that communication we saw, you know, the sweepers communicating that weight to the line caller so that we can get that precision.
That was it. Now Justin's kind of looking at, this is Justin's last rock, so he's kind of looking almost of a little bit of a bail here. How do I remove those? And unfortunately, they're both blue, and you never really like running the opposition's team's rock in there.
Mm-hmm.
One of my concerns would be if you raise the blue one in, and you could jam it, and then that back blue one goes on to that back yellow one, and then are you all of a sudden you just set them up for more than two?
I didn't get an opportunity on the overhead to see how close these blue were together, so there we go. Pretty close together.
Pretty close.
So that lined up for that back yellow pretty good.
Yeah, they are. And I think, based on my look anyways, that if it does go back onto that yellow in the back of the rings there, that it's they could be sitting three.
Be close between that top yellow.
Yes. We're going to see here. Justin just released his last one. They're just
Sweepers are right off.
Yeah, they're just following it down. Ooh. So that will leave Ethan a draw for three, I believe.
Yes. Draw the 8 foot. We'll soon be into our midway point of the game. There'll be a short 5-minute break after this end. An opportunity for the coaches to meet with the athletes and discuss the game as of yet and provide a game plan for the upcoming ends.
Just before we take a little break, I'll just look here. It looks like Team Abraham got a deuce there, so it's 3-2 for Ryan Abraham after 4 ends of play, and it's still remains 4-2 for Logan Sweeney. And I'm looking over on sheet E. I believe it's all tied up over there on E. One of the guys is leaning against the scoreboard, but I think there's a 1 behind him.
You're a little taller than I, Chris. I have a hard time sometimes with these scoreboards.
My problem is it's good in the first few ends, but then I got to do the math. I had my shoes off yesterday Trying to figure up to come up with the score. Yeah, it is tied up over in Sheet E between Wiggle and Sokolik.
Very nice draw here, the sweepers.
Oh,
Oh, a little light.
oh, I thought that looked really good. It seemed to die. Gives Ethan a deuce there, so that'll be 4-2 for Ethan over Justin Gray after 5 ends of play. You're watching the AMJ Campbell Nova Scotia Junior Provincial Curling, and we're just going to take a 5-minute intermission here, and we'll be right back.
It's bad cold. It's not even close.
So I think we're back. Nice shot there of the spectators. There's a few out there now. A couple, it looks like a few grandparents, maybe even some younger brothers and sisters and parents. And if I offended anybody by saying grandparents out there, I didn't mean to do that. If you're not a grandparent and you're like a brother, I better shut up. I'll be in trouble. So we're back after 5. You're watching the 2018 AMJ Campbell Nova Scotia Province Junior Curling Championships from Lakeshore Curling Club here in Sackville, Nova Scotia on Bell TV1. Ethan Young is up 4-2 after 5 ends of play. With Team Justin Gray having the hammer. And this is the first rock. And it looks like they're going to stick it right on the button.
So this is the midway point of the game. We'll take a quick look at the clocks. Both teams start the game with 38 minutes of think time. Both have managed their time quite well the first half. We have Team Gray here with just under 23 minutes left, and Team Young with just under 22 minutes left. So plenty of time to finish the second half of the game. Both teams, of course, start with 2 timeouts as well, which we have not seen either used yet.
No timeouts, and I guess right around the 20 mark is kind of that magic number where I think you want to be after 5 ends. Because usually the back half of the game, if it's a close game, you might use a little more thinking time.
So Team Gray ignoring the shot on the here and choosing to go to the wings.
Yeah, was he trying to go there, or was he looking for a guard? It was just a little hot.
I missed the call. I was looking at the clocks.
Oh, you were looking at the clocks, and I was watching. They just put the score up over on sheet D between Sweeney and Lafort, and it looks like
it's all tied over there.
It's all tied up again. Yep.
And they've just gone into their break.
So something that's I remember when I was a junior. It was a few years ago. We'd have midway timeouts, and there'd be no. We wouldn't get a meal. Now, just go out. They've got like big.
Almost a picnic basket.
It is. Yeah, you're right. And every player has their own little thing that they like, and they got bananas and oranges and apples, and I've seen everything. I've seen what do you call it? It's a big one. Candy Easter eggs. Those are sometimes popular. They like the little chocolate fix.
Yeah.
I coached a team a few years ago, and one thing they always brought out was I brought out pepperoni, which I was like, really, pepperoni? But I'll tell you, the skip loved it, and he grew way better after having a couple pieces of pepperoni. Yeah.
It's not necessarily about the nutritional value. It's more the comfort value in some of the items. But as the athleticism and the caliber of training that these teams are doing now, a lot of them are watching what they're eating. So at the break, they're looking to replenish some fluids after sweeping for 5 ends, and get carbs into them, get their energy levels up so that they can maintain their mental focus as well as their physical activity through the second half of the game.
Yeah, at this level, and I realize they're juniors, but one time people say, oh well, curling's like a beer drinking game, and obviously the juniors wouldn't be drinking, but the adults would be out there having a beer. But at this level, and it doesn't matter if it's juniors or the adults at the high performance level, there's they're eating their pasta and eating all their good meals, because after a long event like this, it takes a toll on your muscles, and by the end of the week you're starting to hurt a little bit,
and you want to stay mentally alert. So it's not necessarily just all physical. It's in the mental game and being able to maintain that concentration level. I mean, these games can, if you end up in an extra end and timeouts and breaks, it can be a 3-hour game. So,
oh yeah, and then they're only averaging about 4 hours off in between games, and they're back here again. Boys this year, and it rotates back and forth. This year the boys have the early morning draw, but the girls are doing the late draw. So you're getting up. I think a lot of these guys are probably getting up at 6 or maybe even before to be here at the club at 7 and go through their pregame routine and to be all ready to go.
time, and our coverage begins at 8 a.m. The teams are actually on the ice at 7:30. They have a pregame practice, much like a warm-up in other sports. So they have the opportunity to try the stones and the ice that they'll be playing on. And at that time, we also do the last stone draw, which determines the hammer in the first end. So there's a little bit going on before we begin broadcasting. So.
Ooh.
Miss here from Team Young. It's an opportunity from Team Gray potentially to set up a deuce.
Yeah, so, Justin's going to look at probably trying to hit that and roll over to the wings a little bit. Doesn't want to set up a double for Ethan. And sometimes it's kind of weird, but they'll take that 5-minute break there in the fifth end, and then the ice sometimes changes after that. They'll mop it, and then just not using it for maybe 5 minutes, it might slow down a little bit. Or
yeah, you get on a momentum. Sometimes that 5-minute break, a long enough pause that you have to try and get back on the same track that you were on before.
Well, that might have set up a double there. I think almost nose or just off nose, you're going to get the two of them there.
Yeah, and as you said earlier, because these stones are so lively in the rings that it doesn't take you don't have to hit a big piece of the stone to get it moving. So
yeah. So let's see what happens. He's not taking any ice there. So basically, where Kieran's going to throw some good weight at this, and he hits it where the broom is. I think you're going to see two yellow ones squirting out the back.
So we're seeing that example of that one sweeper for line, and now they're going to have the second one. They rolled in front of the yellow. That's not a bad
No, that's not
option.
bad. No. Proved us wrong, though. I thought we get the double there, but no such luck. And I see the our sheet B with Matthew Manuel and Ryan Abraham on their fifth end break, and it looks like they blanked the fifth end there, Karen?
Yes, they did blank the fifth end. So I believe it's Abraham is 3 to Manuel's 2. If I have the colors right.
The colors right, yeah. And the other, as they're taking their break, all the players are standing right in front of us here.
So we get the same view as our viewers at home right now.
Exactly.
So just a chipped blue, and the Yellowstone rolls out.
So he was hoping to hold that shooter there somewhere around the wing, but just rolled out. So sometimes, too, you'll see the momentum after that fifth end game. You might see a team that is all over them, and then you might take that 5-minute break, and then all of a sudden that other team that might have been struggling, and it could be something as simple as the coach gives them a good pep talk, or maybe the coach doesn't give them a good pep talk. It's hard to say, I guess.
Or they get their snack that they want.
Maybe that's it. Maybe they were focused on their snack, and all of a sudden they're playing lights out in the back half of the game.
So change of rocks, we may end up with a blank end here if we continue to exchange, which would be a good result for Team Gray if they'd really like to score 2 or blank and keep the hammer. Still quite a few ends left in this game to get back.
Yes.
Into it.
Jason's just trying to come down and take the blue one out. Great shot. So just a little bit of a roll there. So that changed it up a little bit for Ethan.
So Jason's shot had a little bit less weight, a little more closer to a control weight in his hit, so allowing that rock when it did make contact with the blue stone to stay in the rings. I think that might have been the difference from the previous shot.
Could have been, yeah. You bring your weight down. It's a lot easier to control the rock when it hits, unless you throw the big weight. The big weight's always fun to throw, but it's harder sometimes to control the rocks.
Yeah, sometimes when the nerves start to kick in, especially in these sudden death games, that little tweaking between those transitions of those weights is a little more difficult, and that just shows experience. The more that they're exposed to those types of conditions, the better they'll get at it. So again, this is why the younger teams try to participate in some of these events to earn that experience.
A little bit of a hit and roll over to the 12-foot here.
We're slowly working our way to the edge.
They are. You need Justin to move it back closer to the center, because even though I'm sure Justin at this point is thinking, let's try to blank this end and see if we can get something going in the 7th end.
So this far out, we haven't seen a lot of stones out here. I would expect the pebble to be a little fresher, so the stone might track a little differently.
Fresher is just a term, I guess. Just means that it hasn't worn down. The center of the sheet will generally wear down a little bit more so than the wings, because the players are one sliding up and down the center with themselves, and there's more rocks going up and down the center. So just gives it something to bite on, the rock to bite as it's coming down the ice. And they're just keeping it clean. Nice hit on the nose. A little bit of an outside flop there. Didn't really go anywhere.
So Team Young taking the other turn at this stone, hoping to potentially get the roll across into the center.
If Ethan can get to the center, that makes Justin's blank attempt a little bit harder, because it gives him, it'll give him more room to try to roll out. So
we may have had some negative ice that one.
Oh, like really?
Thrower's out turn.
They're just keeping it clean at this point. See the brooms go up, so that's a good start. It's a good shot. Just holding it on there on the wing. Justin's probably going to try to blank this. Anything outside at all will make it go away. More spectators venturing outside there. Young fella going with, I don't know what that thing is. I can't say it's a doll.
It's a well-loved friend.
A well-loved friend. So this is Justin's last rock of the sixth end.
Just trying to eliminate the blue stone and roll and blank.
And he does. So this will be a blank for the sixth end. It'll be 4-2 for Ethan Young over Justin Gray after 6 ends, and Justin Gray will remain the hammer.
So as we get closer to the end here, Chris, do you think we'll see a little bit more rocks in play?
I think so. I think Justin has to put a few more at this point, because he's going to want to get his deuce, right? So, and the only way you're really going to get a deuce is you're either hoping for a miss from Ethan, and I'm not a big fan of that, because if you're hoping for a miss from the other team, I always look at it as a miss as a bonus if the other team would happen to miss. So put the cards in your favor, and you got to play a little aggressive, and to do that you're going to have to get some guards up and try to bury behind those guards. So Ethan's going to try to set it right, right in the 12 foot. I might have tried to go a little deeper than that, but
so as you said, Team Gray here going to try to get some guards up and utilize that free guard zone.
So the first 4 rocks, 2 from each team, can't be removed if they're in front of the rings. If they're in play in the rings themselves, they can be removed, but they just can't be removed. And Ethan loves the tick shot, so it would not surprise me one bit if they put up a guard and you see Ethan trying to tick the shot here. I don't know if I can call Aiden Kavanagh Lisa Weagle, but he doesn't seem to be going after it. I'm just going to try to raise his own back, I think.
Not sure. I'm used to using the hands for turns, so
I know sometimes
tends to use the same hand to hold the brooms.
Yeah, sometimes it messes you up. And one thing I noticed was I noticed my son. He's always tapping like all these different options when he plays, and I'm like, when I'm coaching behind the glass, I'm like, what was that? Well, I was showing the team what I wanted to happen. I'm like, yeah, but what was the shot? Oh, well, we all knew. Well, you might have known, but I'm the coach and I'm calling timeout because I don't know what the call was. So that was a little heavy, but it wasn't a bad result. I think, did it roll right behind that corner guard?
It looks like it from this angle. Got that little rub off the top to roll back. So Team Gray definitely going to use that to their advantage.
Uh,
Have that as backing, draw behind theirs. So
Justin got a couple options here. Justin could come down behind this, or he could have threw up another corner guard. But he elected to go in behind, and that's a fine option as well. I mean, putting up 2 corner guards is a little challenging.
I would think if you can get behind this guard, the next step would be for Team Young to peel your guard, and then you can set on the other side.
So, yeah.
Nice draw weight.
Yeah, it was really good.
Just didn't get the finish.
No,
we haven't seen it yet. So
no, I might have used the other sweeper to kind of force the rock over there, but that works. I mean, definitely a jam opportunity here for Ethan's team. So you can see here in our backdrop, you can see the coach. He's got his fingers against his head here. I'm not sure if he's not liking the call or he just rests against his head. And the coaches, they all sit behind the glass here, so there's no interaction unless there's a timeout, and that's fine, and it makes it a little challenging. I looked away there, and I'm not sure how that rock got there. Did it hit the guard?
We made contact, but we did jam on the back.
Oh,
so,
okay.
As you said, it was a little difficult where we're not getting that finish out of the stones that I would like to see. So we did, but we rolled over onto the 4-foot, so that reduced the scoring area as well.
So after 5 ends on E here, Wiggle is up 3-2, I believe. Yep, 3-2. So they're in their halfway mark. It's a pretty good game here on sheet B right in front of it. There seems to be a lot of hollering on, off, so I think there's some good shots being made there. I'm not really watching it very much, but.
So we just saw Team Gray try to remove the blue stones, remove the front one, but jammed on the second, still removing one, pushing the blue stone to the behind the tee line, which they could use to their advantage if need be.
Oh yeah, for sure. These guys put a lot of effort into it, which is nice. So that just basically hit it on the nose and pushed it out the back. Sets up a tricky shot here for Justin. Can't get a double there, thinking not jamming on that blue one or yellow one back there. So I think he's just going to try to hit and maybe peel it away and maybe get lucky and spin his own shooter into play here.
Yeah, if he can roll his shooter over, and just even as a biter, the other team may ignore it if it's just biting.
Yeah. The Nos throw here. Sweeping is Jason Giroux on the right and Justin Arnberg on the left. Just got a piece, but
maybe enough if we.
Oh, gee, I think that's in play.
On there. But you can see that they didn't make contact with a very large piece of that stone, and it did travel almost all the way across.
Oh yeah, no, that's what, maybe an inch in play.
Yeah,
so
an inch and a half. Yep. Yeah. There is a yellow stone currently out counting it. But still got a few rocks to go before we get to the end of the set.
Is he peeling the guard here, Ethan?
It looks like it.
Okay.
And he'll get the back one instead.
Get the back one. That's a really good miss, actually. Yeah. If you're going to miss, that's the best way to do it. Play it tight, so if you miss the top one, you can catch at least the back one. Looks like Justin's going to just play a little hit and then try to flop behind that corner guard. Oh, no, he's not. He's going the other way here. So where's he going? Is he throwing up a corner?
Or drawing into the blue?
Or is that a hit? Oh, that's a hit. He was just doing the... oh, I didn't realize that's what... Okay. So a little bit of a miss there. I don't know if they were expecting a little bit more movement and there wasn't any, or... Ethan tried to rip that guard again.
So that blue stone at the back, if you were yellow, you could almost use that to your advantage now and draw down to it.
Well, exactly, yeah. I mean, that's you definitely put some pressure on him, right?
Anything that makes the opposition have to make a harder shot.
Exactly, and at this point, Justin, unfortunately, is going to have to make a few harder shots because he's down a couple points.
So that blue stone just traded the guards. Now it's a blue guard, but moved it a little bit closer to center. So an opportunity here if Justin can get in, maybe get some cover.
Yeah. I think I'd be trying to freeze on that specific spot there. I mean, I realize he's only down 2 points, but I think at this point, like, just trying to change it up, but he's going to prove me wrong here and make a really good shot.
They do that to us all the time.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, very nice line here.
Just didn't get that inside roll he might have been hoping for.
So Team Young will follow them down. A couple more shots. This biter on the right-hand side of our screen may come into play here.
Very well. This is Ethan's first rock.
Spectators in here on the warm side are quite quiet, so the intensity of these games is certainly being felt behind the glass as well as on the ice. So.
Either that or all texting one another.
We need to perk another pot of coffee.
Yeah, it's early. So just roll to the button there. My only problem with just keeping playing this hit, because this is Justin's first, is Justin, based on that one that's back there in the top, or the back right, I guess. See, now I'm confused now. That's the back right, yeah. Is that rock may come in play, so unless Justin gets a really good hit and roll behind this guard here, Justin might be forced to take in his one here.
Yeah, that biter's really making sure that there's no blank in this end.
Yeah.
And Team Gray might be happy with just taking one and getting rid of the hammer and trying to steal in the next end.
Well, some teams actually play better without the hammer. That one seems to be tracking, slowly trying to get across that center line. So Ethan just wants to hit this on the nose here and force Justin to take his one.
So these teams are competing here this week. What have they got coming up next?
So I think some of the teams you're probably going to see in Lunenburg for the Lunenburg Youth Spiel. I believe that's the 10th to the 12th of January. And that's an under 18, under 15 event. So you'll see some of the younger players will be in that. Some of the other ones probably have already aged out. Then after that, I believe Bridgewater's doing a 2-day spiel for under 18 teams again. Unfortunately, and that's one of the things that have been discussed, is that for the older kids, i.e. the 18 to 21 age group, there's not much for them after this because the season kind of wraps up, because obviously the winner of this will go to represent Nova Scotia in Shawinigan 13th, 14th, that time frame in Shawinigan. So there has been some discussions that, can we look at moving this event to a later date so that training season can get longer. But I think some of that hinges on the World Curling Association, because it's a national or a world thing.
And I suppose this year, with an Olympic year, there's some dates that are all skewed all over our season this year.
Exactly.
the taking place when the Scotties Tournament Heart would normally take place in Canada.
Right.
So I believe that's moved earlier. So women's events are all
earlier this year. So there's discussions of trying to, you know, how do we make this season longer for these older kids? And, you know, there's talk of having a point system that's being worked on now to have a national point system. And it's a wraparound point system, so the points will be carried over. So for that to happen, there'd have to be more events after this event to try to keep teams, I wouldn't say interested, because I think they're interested, but there's just nothing for them, especially on the East Coast here. Anyways, I don't know about so much on the West Coast or Central Canada. So
Team Grey 4-1 here, and as we just finish up the 7th, Team Young will take the hammer into the 8th end.
And it looks like over on E, they blanked the 6th end. So Wiggle still up 3-2 over Sokolik. And it looks like still a tie game on sheet D between Lafort and Sweeney. And I believe they haven't put the score up. Oh, it's just going up now. So it looks like Abraham just stole one in the 6th end, and that puts them up to 4-2 over Matthew Manuel at this point after 6.
So our first stone here on back on sheet C was light, didn't make it over the hog line. So we're seeing a change in the ice now. We're getting into the.
It could be the pebble could slowly start to be breaking down, and these guys are sweeping pretty hard, so that does make a factor on the ice a little bit, and it could be a little bit of nerves. Now this one is the opposite. It seems a little warm. Take this back as far as they can. Actually try to take it right through. So this one's just a little warm. So I don't know if Team Young thought it was changing and they overcompensated. So you see the teams here, they all have stopwatches, or the majority of them have stopwatches on. And it's just, I refer to it as almost like another tool in the toolbox to for the players to use to see if the ice is changing. And they'll do, every team does it slightly different. They could do hog to hog or split times. I think hog to hog here is running close to 16 seconds. So they know that from the beginning of the game. And if it starts, the time starts to change, they'll change it. So Team Justin Gray just threw up the center guard here. It's a perfect center guard. So Ethan is going to tick. I think this is the first tick we've seen from them.
So because this is in the free guard zone, we can't remove it. So we're just trying to get it off the center. Is that the objective here, Chris?
just kind of pushing it off to the left. I think it's the left a little bit to open up that center for Ethan. There's different ways to think about this. See, this didn't quite work out as well as they wanted to. So if this goes out of play, then they can remove it. So we'll just push it to the back of the rings. I personally, and I mean that's me, I guess, I'd rather almost try to come behind that guard and put something on the forefoot. Maybe at this age level, maybe that's just me, I don't know.
Well, that's not getting the finish out of the stones might have been a factor as well, and you're not quite getting the finish behind.
So Justin's going to try to come behind that guard.
Noticing a little bit more curl out of Mackenzie's stones here.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's a release or if he might have a couple stones that are matched a little differently.
Could be. So some of the higher teams, and I'm not saying these guys don't, but you know, some of the teams that might have been here and use these stones a lot, they might have a book, and because every rock has a number on it, and they may have a book and they'll track the rocks. They say, oh yeah, the rock on sheet B, third rock curls a little more than sheet A, and then you got to put some time into that for that to all work out. But some of the teams will do that, especially some of the higher teams here.
Some of our teams have coaches that have played with these stones as
that
well,
is true,
so they're bringing that great resource.
Yeah.
Time out on our sheet here.
So this will be the first time to see the coaches come out on the ice. So we got for Justin Arnberg, we have Oh my, I'm trying to think who the coach is.
So Pam Sullivan is coaching
Yes.
Team Gray, and Brian McIntosh
Brian McIntosh is the coach, yeah.
for Team Young. So this being the timeout belonging to Team Young, the team will come out and discuss. I believe they're trying to look at what direction they want to remove, or do they want to at all.
Yeah. So he'll come out. He gets 90 seconds with the team to chat with them. And when Brian is done, because it's Team Young's timeout, when Brian's done, then Pam is done. She can't stay out on his timeout any longer. So that's a nice close-up of the coach giving his wisdom to the team, giving him what he thinks. And I know as me, and I know you coach some as well, Karen, that I don't usually go out and tell the team this is what you should do. I like to give them options and let them decide.
Yeah, each team and coach has their own dynamic. I like to just, sometimes I'm there as a tiebreaker because two team members want to do one thing, the other two want to do another, so sometimes you're the tie-breaking vote. Sometimes it's just bringing an awareness to a shot. Have you thought about doing it this direction, in-turn versus out-turn, or what's the other team going to do if you do this? So it's again, these teams are young. No pun intended here. So they're still learning. There's a learning curve. So sometimes they forget a step in the decision-making process when they're calling their shots. So the coach can remind them, did you think about this? So.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I'll tell you, one of the hardest things that I've found is I coach my youngest son. And I'll go out and say, well, these are some options. And then I'll go in behind the glass and he'll call something completely different. And I'll be like, well, why'd you do that? Well, I don't think you're right, Dad.
I remember one time my team called me out and they said, we want to do this. And I said, okay. And they said, is that the right shot? I said, are you going to make it? And he said, yes. I said, then it's a shot. So
exactly. Yeah.
So sometimes it's what they're comfortable throwing as well.
Exactly, so. Yeah. So they made a decision.
Looks like they're going to try to clean the front up here.
It's a pretty tight game here, so you don't want to give up a big end, especially in the 8th end. We're getting closer there. Ooh.
We're going to jam it on the back and get this back stone out.
So you got the back one out. You did open it up, and you got that back one out. That back one was really essentially nothing but trouble.
So very well executed.
Yep.
So the discussion in that timeout, all the different options. If you hit it from this direction, you have the opportunity to grab this one as well. So very good shot. Cleared up that front, cleared out the back. With hammer, again, we want to try to keep that front open. So
well spent 90 seconds.
Yes.
Is he trying to come in here, or no? It looks like
I think
he's just
trying to get a guard up.
Guard, yeah. So that's a good call. Anything nice and tight. So again, if it is tight, he could raise it.
I think it's going to slip in on him, though.
Slip in, yes. So a couple options. Ethan could try to take this out, or he could try to rip off his own guard.
I think could probably even almost draw down to that and
you could
reduce that scoring opportunity and put some pressure on them. The team seemed to be electing to go with some very safe options, some easy execution. Not every shot is easy, of course, but ones with the higher probability of success, I guess, is what we're looking for.
Exactly, yeah.
That might be a little bit of the nerves with a sudden death here.
Well, yeah, nobody wants to be that team, unfortunately, but so that's just going to hit and roll out.
And try to come in here or be, tight guard.
Looks like he's trying to come in, I think. I think he tapped there behind that rock in the 4-foot.
I think if I was throwing it, I'd throw it for the 12, top of the 12, and let my sweepers put it where the skip wants it. And there's some options in between that you can use.
Yeah, I think for the most part, I think maybe 6 to 8 feet. I think a sweeper can usually drag a rock roughly. Maybe some a little more, some a little less. This ice I do find is great for dragging the rocks. So that just overcurled a little bit.
I think it was a little lighter than the shot called, so that might have increased that curl a little bit. So Team Young here, taking a look at it. They want to get that front open again. So
we got to get. Seen we got to get a few rocks in play here in the behind. Both teams are very defensive at this point. And I mean, rightly so. It's a close game, so nobody wants to take a big chance and give up a big end.
So not a lot of rocks in play means not a lot of rocks are going to be scoring. So.
That is true. So still left a couple center guards, or center and just center guard. It's actually a nice setup for Justin. So he's just going to try to come in behind that there.
So the theory here, Chris, you go behind there, blue stone, and potentially you could raise yours. Did?
Yeah, you know.
On your next shot.
That seems, is it over curling?
It's a little light too.
Yeah. Well, we've got the guard thing down pat. I've noticed his rocks, or Jason's, are over curling a little bit. I'm not sure if it's his release or...
He seems to be throwing a softer weight than his teammates,
Could
so
be, yeah.
Maybe not quite have the perfect feel. He did throw quite a few hits at the beginning of the game, so he might not be quite 100% sure where the tee line is for draw weight.
Could be, yeah.
But a good side of the miss is to have it short so that you can promote it later. So.
Well, exactly. So, yeah, unfortunately, sitting behind the tee line does nothing, or behind the back line does nothing for you. So if you're, ooh.
So close.
That was close. So really good break for Justin, because he's got 3 guards up there now, and they're not terribly lined up great for raises. So if he could manage to suck one in there, he's going to put a little bit of pressure on Ethan.
From here, it looks like he has a better chance of making.
On ice microphone is picking up some discussions from some other games here.
I see that, yeah.
Great to get all those live action sounds.
It is, yeah.
Watching one game, we could even hear the brushes brushing, so it's great to have all those sound effects in there.
That is, yeah. Feels like we're right there, but we're warm. This is a pretty key shot here for Justin. He wants to bury this one pretty good.
Yeah, he is quite out there quite far.
It is. It's got to be
Kinsey
there,
can get
though.
on there.
Go. Oh, did they wait too long? Go, guys. Go hard. Go, go, go. Don't stop.
Very nice.
That was very nice, yeah.
So just waiting for that break point, which is with the opportunity when the weight comes off just enough that the stone starts to curl. They timed that perfect with their sweeping.
Yeah, that was a really great shot. So that's completely buried, and the ankles aren't set up great for your Ethan at this. So I think he's just going to try to open the center up, and he might get lucky. I don't know. It's hard to tell if he'll get lucky and maybe clip that yellow one going by, but I got a feeling it's going to go across the face of it.
It's junior curling. Anything can happen.
That is true.
So the goal here for Team Young would just to make sure that that front is open. Timeout called here by Team Young. It's their second timeout. I would think they'd want to just try to get it open so that Ethan has an opportunity to get into that 4-foot with his last stone.
Exactly. Or, you know, Ethan could be aggressive here and try to go in behind that, because that's 12. He could try to come in and sit almost top 4-foot. And then that's going to be a tough shot for Justin to get in there for his one. So,
I mean, right now the 4-foot is available on either turn.
Yep.
So he does have a draw available.
Yep.
So.
Looks like Logan Sweeney just got 2 in the 7th, so he's up 6-4. They just did this entire game. They've been trading 2s, so he's up 6-4 after 7. Logan is, and I'm trying to see what.
Sheedy's been trading 1s back and forth.
Sheedy's been 1s. I can't quite see what. What's the score?
4-2 for Team Weagle over on Sheedy.
Oh yeah, 4-2, and it still remains. What's the score on B here right now? Is it?
I have a few taller boys in front of me.
I know. I can't see through everybody's heads.
So Lakeshore here has baseball scoreboards, so this is why Chris has to get all his fingers and toes out to count up the score for us.
I think the players should have to put the totals up at the end, personally. Just little.
So it appears Team Young is elected to draw around here.
So they're going around, so they're going to be a little bit aggressive. This isn't bad because this is Ethan's first rock. And if he can come around here, and he has hammers in here, and then put some pressure on Justin, but it's also going to give Ethan a little bit, confidence on the draw weight. So if he can bury one, that'll give him a good opportunity for the draw on his last one, if need be.
And a tolerance here. You could go top 8 foot, you could go top 4 foot. Anything ahead of the tee line would probably be ideal, right?
Yeah, you wouldn't want to be behind because then that would give Justin something to sit on. And then basically forcing you. So the boys are on this pretty hard right now.
Line looks good. I'm just waiting to see the weight might cause it to curl a little sooner than we expect.
So this looks like it's coming in there pretty good. Did they hammer a little? Ooh, it's going to be a little deeper than.
That having to sweep for line to keep it off that yellow rock caused them to slide a little deeper than they want. But as you said, it gave Ethan a good feel for that track, so because he may have a second chance at this one.
Exactly. Yeah, it looks like if he can get in there, that the yellow one up in the top is tough though. So I don't know if Ethan can get his deuce, but we can see here.
The good thing with Ethan throwing the last rock, he won't have to bury with that one as long as he
no,
can get
exactly.
into the 4 foot area.
Yeah. If Justin can put one in here though, just ahead of the tee line. Anything really essentially ahead of that one that's in the top 12 would be nice. Just so he's putting 2 in there and putting some pressure on him.
Sweepers are staying away. It looks like weight might be all there. As the curlers say, all there.
All there. It's not. See, when you throw that weight that it's almost there on its own, you don't get the movement.
You almost have to give it to your sweepers, eh?
Yeah, this one's going to sail. It's just a little too deep. So force is going to be on here for Ethan. So now he's going to probably adjust himself a little bit and maybe throw a little bit less weight.
I think by just getting back by that yellow stone, do you have to increase your ice a little bit too?
Well, he might have to. So
it might be a slightly different path.
So a little bit farther out. So he may adjust a bit, maybe take a little bit off. Takes a little bit off and load a little farther. That's not a good combination. So we'll see what happens here. This is, sometimes curling's a very mental game because it gets in your head sometimes, right?
Yeah. So all he has to do is hit the 8 foot for this.
Yeah. So should be a fairly routine shot. We'll see.
Sweepers are on it right away.
I do find on this the ice here in Sackville that the players can carry a rock quite far.
How's the line looking there?
Can't see.
Close to that Yellowstone, though.
They stopped. That doesn't look like they got one. So it looks like it's a steal for Justin. Tie game? Tie game. So after 8 ends of play, looks like we got a tie game.
And now it's become a 2-end.
It's a 2-end game, so they could have saved a lot of time and only played 2 ends. But Ethan will remain with the hammer. And we'll be going into the 9th end here.
Plenty of time on the clocks to finish up this last 2 ends of play. Team Gray is the only team with timeouts remaining, so. So if you're the coach and the other team needs a timeout, you really don't want to call a timeout, do you?
Well, no, timeouts are hard. You want to use them. I always like to try to keep one for like the last end, but then sometimes, if you're really against what they're calling, then maybe you don't want to do that. So
sometimes you have to make it to the 10th end. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So there has been some discussion, especially in, I think it's Saskatchewan, that the coaches should be out on the ice with the players.
They are at a national level.
Exactly. So
some
and the teams can talk to the coaches in between ends, I believe, at the national level. Obviously, they can't talk about strategy unless they call a timeout at the end. But anyways, there has been some discussion now. As a coach myself, I'm almost wondering if it'd be a little too cold for me out there.
A little chilly.
Yeah, I like being in here. But, you know, there's definitely, I think the learning curve will be better if you were outside.
Yeah, some of these juniors, like we say, they're still developing their game.
Exactly. So, and sometimes if you wait, you can make all the notes in the world you want as a coach, and at the end of the game and say, well, okay, let's sit down and discuss everything you went wrong. But if you might have lost, are they really listening to you? So
tuck that away for another week or later on in the season.
Yeah. So this is Justin's second shot here. He just threw up a corner or just off center line guard.
I think the ice is starting to change here. We're seeing a lot of play a little bit further away from the rings this end.
Yeah, you seem that way, doesn't it? So this one looks like it might wreck. Just squeeze it by, but
it'll be enough to get to the rings.
Yeah. So we got a nice set of guards up there. They're obviously not going to get rid of all those in one shot. Ethan's looking at going in behind.
I think there's enough room to take the other turn and get buried, almost like an outside in.
Well, possibly. I mean, that could work. It looks like they're still going inside, and it's weird too because you don't see that a lot, right? Teams wanting to go out to the wings to try to bury in behind, but really sometimes you're going to have the best ice out there because especially in the later part of the games. So they just backed right off of that one. I don't know.
A little fooled by the other stones coming up light, I think. It looks a little heavier.
So that's going to be wide open there. And that leaves Justin the opportunity for a hit and roll behind. Just signifying kind of by just tapping his belly there that he's just looking for down weight. I think here on sheet B, Matthew Manuel just got one, so it's 4-3 for Ryan Abraham after 7 ends of play.
We've been going up and down the ice pretty quick, so we're a little bit ahead of some of the other games.
Yes.
So we're just finishing the 8th end in some of them, so we'll update you as those scores come up.
It seems to be the thing all week here. They just can't get enough movement to get that roll behind the guard, eh?
Yeah. Simple strategy. We like that.
It's very simple, yeah.
So just looking to exchange rocks here. If we can get that little bit of movement and get behind those guards, I think either team would be happy with that.
I think so, yeah. Just a little flop would be amazing because it's going to be tough to get out. So
I think it's going to be difficult to draw in there. So
I think so, yeah. Going to get just a little smidge. Just a little smidge to the center, so from here it's easy to get a flop in behind that guard.
But we curl 100% back here.
That is true, we always do. So I'll see what Mackenzie kind of just signified with his thumb there that it could be out a little bit. You can see it start once it gets to that center line, it'll go, and it's starting to go.
Of course, as the stone moves a little bit higher in the rings. There we go.
Got a little bit there. Once we get the other angle, see, that's not bad, really. He's only seeing, what, maybe a little less than half?
Yeah, so electing to try to corner freeze on this.
Yeah. So even if he does corner freeze, he probably won't be shocked, but
would set him up for an opportunity.
Exactly,
for sure.
Yeah. He might be able to come in at a later date or a later time. Trying to come down on this. On off is always a good sign. You see they just switched their sweepers, so Aiden Kieran was trying to sweep to push the rock over a little bit. I'm not sure if that little bit of whisk is going to do it, but just didn't get the movement he quite wanted.
It's good to see that theories, they understand the theories and they're trying to implement them. So
exactly. So
as they learn and practice those techniques, and they become a little bit more successful each time they play it.
So did he tap a guard here? I would assume that's what I think he'd probably go with.
We don't have hammer. We have a point in. I think we just want to build a wall now.
Exactly, yeah. So
almost the old Little Rock theory. Put one in.
yeah. So that's a pretty good
very
shot.
Nice guard,
That's
yes.
very good. So that's Ethan's going to want to try to open that up now. That scoring zone is pretty tight now. So by him tapping his head, usually it's probably peel weight is what he's looking for there.
Those peels, don't they?
Oh, they love to throw the peels. The only problem sometimes is they'll come out so fast, they'll give it a push at the end, and then they'll push it a little bit outside. And with this ice, and then if you put the sweepers to it, it won't move at all.
No forgiveness.
No. Oh,
catch the back one. Very
beautiful
nice.
Shot.
Avoids jamming his own and leaves his own guarded as well.
I think there was a pretty good shot just made there on sheet B. There was a lot of granite when I looked up flying across the sheet.
I looked at one point, it was all yellow, and now it's all blue. So be anxious to see how that end finishes.
So the one thing there that he didn't get the peel shot he was looking for, but he got the one off the 4-foot. So he did leave his shooter up there, so that left another guard for Justin.
Yeah, the guard's a little longer, so there might be a little room to come in now.
Yeah. So that one seems to be out there quite a ways. So the other Justin is trying to force it over there a little bit. Definitely, I'd like to try to leave it shot here. I wouldn't want to sweep it back too far. So that's just behind the tee line.
Ethan will be open.
Yeah, so Ethan is going to try to just hit it and flop in behind here because he's got the hammer.
So the sweeping on one side, what's the theory behind that, Chris? You warm up one side, causing grip on one side, slippy on the other side of the stone?
Yeah, sort of. And the grain is, you're almost changing essentially the grain. You're pushing the grain of the broom in that direction, which in theory, I guess, I can't say it melts the pebble, but it
warms it a
little bit, yeah. I don't think anybody's as strong enough yet to melt it.
Yeah. I'll bring in a physics professor.
Yeah, that's what we need, right?
Friction and physics. And
yeah. We need somebody to invent an automatic broom.
I got one of those at home. It's called a vacuum.
I thought you were going to say a daughter.
She's a good sweeper, but apparently only in curling.
Only in curling, yeah. I was teaching a bunch of juniors once, and I told them, well, you know, you can go home and practice on your kitchen floor. And they looked at me like I had 3 heads. Like, what do you mean?
Mom might make me do that all the time then.
She sees I can do that. I'll be doing that all the time. So Justin's going to try to come down here and get behind those 2 guards, or behind the guard and the 2 rocks at the back of the 4-foot.
So we've only got 1 sweeper, so it looks like we're trying to do some directional sweeping, some line here.
Yeah.
Now, Mackenzie being under the weather earlier this week may be trying to conserve some strength here, too.
Exactly. I'm not sure how he's feeling. I haven't really talked. That one's starting to move now. Go, 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 go. That's a pretty good shot there.
Good shot, number 1 shot.
I don't know if it's almost still wide open, though. So, you know, definitely wouldn't want to catch this on the outside because you could run it into those 2 blue in the back.
Yeah, got to be very careful. You want to make sure you're at least nose or a little bit on the center line side.
Yes.
And there's not a lot of room to get to the center line side of that stone with the blue guard ahead there.
And as we've seen, it's very straight there, so that should hang pretty straight there. I'm going to took a little less ice, but we'll see what he's throwing for weight. If he brings his weight down, it might.
Yeah, if we can look at like a hack to a board weight.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit more where you can control it. If you throw the up weight, you really can't control the rock too much. One, the sweepers are going so fast that they just can't keep up. They put that pressure on. The pressure, I think, generally keeps the rock straighter, more so than your speed, I believe.
Just trying to encourage it.
Oh, good shot. Good shot.
Very nice. So that probably was about hack weight. Then.
Yeah, that was about hack. So by him leaving that there, so that's a pretty good shot, because if Justin hits that on the nose, I don't believe he'll be shot. And
very hard to outdraw it.
It's a very hard spot to. There's really nowhere to draw in there. So I think all he's really got is really hit and maybe get a little bit of a flop inside.
Checking some of the angles here, if he can drive it back in there.
Is that what he's looking at? I'm not a huge fan of running the other team's rocks back, but the way they're sitting there is, I think if you catch the front one, you might be able to spill the two back ones.
My worry would be is the amount of contact you're having with the stone. Will your shooter stay? We're getting so much movement off that.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Will your shooter stay in the rings? I think we'll see a timeout very shortly here.
The team's going down to discuss it with Justin. I haven't.
Lots of time on the clock. There are about 13 minutes remaining for this team, as opposed to just under 10 minutes for the other team. So they got a lot of time. It's just.
I haven't seen any movement from the coaches, so.
Coaches will let the team decide. Now the coaches can indicate that they would like to talk to the team, but the team does have to call the timeout. So.
Yes, and that does happen sometimes. It's like, no, we got this.
Yeah, coaches in here hopping and dancing, trying to get their attention. The team ignoring them.
I think on sheet D they broke our 2 streak. I think
it's a single up there.
A single up there. So now it's 2, 4, 6, 6-5 for Sweeney after 8 ends of play. And it looks like over on sheet E, Sokolic just got 1, so they're down 1 at this point after 8 ends of play. So what was the decision here? Did they make one? Looks like a hit.
It looks like they're going to try to run that blue back into the pack at the back.
So I think if he hits it almost really where he's got the broom at, he might be able to and get a double out of that.
Again, my concern would be that, how far is it going to roll? How lively are these stones in the rings right now?
Exactly. So rock's underway here.
Set it a little out there on the release.
Sweepers are on it right away, though. There's a lot of screaming. Oh, well, it's not bad. Didn't hold the shooter, and the back one kind of jammed there, so it just kind of stuck around the back 8 foot. That does leave Ethan a draw for 2.
So I think they got the result they wanted with the blue stones. I think the shooter rolling out probably was not anticipated.
And it with that kind of weight, it was going to be hard to control the shooter.
Although you would have required that much weight to move the blue stones around, right?
Exactly, yeah. So a little bit of a pressure shot here. Yeah, definitely Ethan wants to make this. Boys are on it right away.
This is the last stone of the 9th end here on sheet C.
Boys are hammering it pretty hard. As soon as it let go of his hand, they were on it.
Yeah, they just gotta touch the circles. So
yeah, it looks pretty good to me. I think.
Don't give up on it, boys. Keep pounding her.
I think it looks pretty good. Yep, good draw. So that'll be 2.
Made that shot for him.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I better get a pat in the back out of that one. So 6-4 for Ethan over Justin after 9 ends. So it's 9 ends, right? Yeah, 9 ends.
Time flies when you're having fun here.
It does. I'm just having a blast this morning with you, Karen.
So Team Gray will take hammer into the final end. So I guess we'll see. Team Gray will want a lot of rocks in play this end now.
I would think so. I mean, they got to get a deuce here, or they're done essentially. So they're going to want to get a deuce and probably try to tie it up and win in the extra is what I would think they'd be going with.
Yeah, certainly difficult seeing the scoring pattern here to get 3. So I would see play for the tie and potentially go into an extra end. So Team Young will look to keep it clean, probably bring their first rock into the rings. Team Gray's tried to set up some guards with the free guard zone.
Yeah, I think so. So I would think he's going to sit this right on the 4-foot. That's where I'd be trying to put it if I could.
So again, 10th end, we're starting to see a little bit of breakdown in the pebble, and that's just the amount of usage and sweeping and foot traffic over the center. So typically we see that between the 4-foot lines.
So that's pretty much where he asked for it, give or take an inch.
Not much scoring zone left when you almost cover the pin.
No. So Justin's going to want to be throwing up the corner guard. If I was him, I'd be trying to get 2 corner guards, I think.
Yeah, I think you need that with the last end here being down 2. He does have hammers, so that would give him.
Yes.
You know, if he can lock 1 point in.
Exactly. So it's not key that he removes that's on the button right away. I mean, as long as he has a path to it, he can leave it there until this very last one. That seems a little warm, maybe.
A little deeper than they want.
Yeah, no, he's definitely got. He wanted to have a guard on that one because.
Yeah. Free guard zone would be your friend.
Yes. I'm not sure what happened on B, but all the rocks are going away.
This was the end that we saw the change of color
earlier.
So.
I've seen a few tapping of the brooms on the ice. So I don't know if there was a couple missed shots there or what. Have to wait till they put the scoreboard up. But Abraham is shooting first, so I'm assuming they got 1. So that was a good shot there. It just hit and rolled out of the rings.
So a colleague here beside me is saying that they Team Abraham scored 1. So.
Did they? Okay, so that would have been, what's that, the 8th end?
Yes.
So we're in the 9th now, so that'll put Abraham up 2 points, I guess. Can't see through everybody's head there. We're having a team discussion, Team Manual is.
Just trying to refocus in those little team scuttles and make sure everybody understands going forward.
What the plan is.
What the game plan is.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So Team Young successful in removing Team Gray's Yellowstone that went in, and Gray is trying to replace the guard now.
There we go. Justin got a nice corner guard up there. So Ethan's coming out to play the ticky shot, or ticky shot, I guess. Tick shot. That's the word I'm looking for. Play the tick shot. Just move it over a little bit.
This is the 4th stone. No, it is not. Correct. It's all right.
So I wonder now, so I heard the Olympics are going to go, the next Olympics are going to go to the 5-rock rule. So I wonder if we'll see that trickle down into club play, this type of play, where you can't remove the first 5 rocks. I haven't really heard anything.
Yeah, I believe some of the slam events have been trying it.
Yes,
so,
yeah, I did see that, yeah.
Just generates a little different strategy, more rocks in play. So, but this year at the Olympics, we're going to see the mixed doubles for the first time.
Yes, and that starts soon, isn't it? Like the playdowns for Canada for that?
I believe so, if not already.
Yeah, that's possible. I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
So Lakeshore here is hosting the provincial mixed doubles in March, so we're anxious to see that as well. And see as it catches on. It's been.
I've only played it a few times, but it's actually quite fun. It's very fast paced, and it's a new aspect to the sport for sure.
Yeah, the theory is to have an 8-end game played in an hour or close to an hour, so that in an Olympic type venue, multiple sports, you can go and watch the event quite quickly and then move on to another and maybe go watch some skating or some bobsledding or something else.
No,
so
that's great.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I thought I saw handshakes over there on sheet T, so I'm not sure what happened over there.
it could have been high fives.
Oh, maybe it was high fives.
A lot of the teams are coming down. So I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
sure.
So, and I see them bringing their jackets, so I'm not sure what happened there. What was the score?
So there must have been
A big end?
big end of 9. So I'm sure our broadcasters, Dan and Jeff at the other end, will have it all updated on their site.
So Justin's looking to tap this center one back. I may still try to throw up another corner guard here if I was him, but
Yeah, very difficult to get the deuce with not a lot of rocks in play.
no, exactly.
Certainly working to Team Young's advantage right now. Very nice.
It was a very nice freeze. So Justin still shot, or sorry, Ethan still shot.
Enough separation, I believe you can scoot that yellow out.
Yeah.
Although now that the blue is behind the back line, if you did take that with you, that's not a bad option as well. Young could clear all these stones. It would be.
Oh, it'd be very good for him. So they're throwing some heat on this. Seems to be hanging pretty straight. They're not touching it.
Just need to make a little bit of contact with that yellow, and I think she'll go.
Except if you miss the yellow, unfortunately. It didn't quite. It didn't. I think he threw a lot of weight there, and it might have even drifted or floated out just a smidge.
Successful nonetheless.
So looks like Justin's going to try to freeze on it again.
So sweepers are staying away from it right now, so that indicates that it's probably a little heavier than they anticipate.
It's a nice.
Hoping to get a little bit of finish here now.
It's definitely got a piece of the blue. Oh, that was nice. That was a beautiful shot. Might have left that a little long. Ideally, you wanted to freeze that right onto it.
Yeah.
Because if you freeze it on, then it creates
very hard to remove at
that
point.
Yeah, exactly.
This Team Young's been quite consistent with their hits, although that one's tracking
that
quite
one's-
quickly.
yeah,
I'm not
that
sure if
one-
it caught something.
I don't know. That one seemed to.
Could be just our camera angle. So.
Could be. I thought that really seemed to be coming really fast.
Good execution. Took that blue off that back 4 foot, so making it more difficult for Gray to score there.
You want to call another timeout?
So we're picking up some ambient calls from
Yeah,
sheet E.
I was just looking to see if it was somebody on our sheet, but you're right. It's coming from me. I guess the microphone must be.
So weight looks good. How's our line on this one?
I think it's lining up very good. It might even be a little warm.
A little heavy, yeah.
You have to straighten run. You probably get 2 and sit 1.
Between camera angles and live.
Yeah, exactly. So what's he think? He's going to take that out? That his plan?
Maybe. I'm not sure if he's putting mitts on or signaling weight calls. So a top 4 foot draw, I believe. Kieran here making sure the front end knew what the call was.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks.
Helped us out.
It did help us. Thanks, Kieran. Ethan wouldn't want to set this behind the tee line.
I think top 8 foot would be
Yeah.
very, very difficult for Gray to outdraw. And if you did try to hit it, the other stone would come into play. So.
Okay, so I was a little confused there because I thought he tapped and then he ended up taking it out. So.
Yeah, they could be discussing, as you said, they tap their brooms and talk at the same
Yeah,
time.
exactly. So either way, there's no rocks in play. Not a great situation. Essentially, Justin is hoping Ethan's going to miss his last one. So Justin's trying to ask his team now, where do we put last rock or our first rock, so Ethan will miss. So,
I think we've got a timeout
is there
here.
a timeout? Yeah, it must be. Coach Pam is going out to talk to him.
Yeah, and I imagine this discussion is where do we put it that makes it more difficult for the other team to remove.
Exactly.
So in your experience, Chris, where do you put that? Top 4, 8 foot?
That's a toughie.
Do you go to the wings?
So yeah, I don't know. Like, I've been trying to, where have they made the majority of their shots? I don't know. I might be tempted to put it over in the edge of the 12 foot, only because it would make it a little bit harder maybe to hit. But if you put it in the center, then if you only catch a piece of it, you got more room for it to roll, and it may not roll out. So let's see what they decided here. They look like they're tapping the button.
So sheet E, where we could hear the timeouts, is back in play. That is a very close game. 4-3 game right now for Team Weagle over Sakalik.
They're in the 9th end. And nobody ever put the score up, and I haven't heard what happened on D, but I guess if I was going to assume, because based on the scoreboard, Logan was up by a point.
And had hammer in the 9th.
And had hammer, he must have got. This looks almost a little light. That's going to be a hard split, I think, for 2. Looks like that might be the game.
Unfortunately, they came up light, and they won't be able to. That'll run them out of rocks. So Team Young will advance into the next round with a final score here of 6-4. 6-4.
6-4. So you've been watching the 2018 AMJ Campbell Nova Scotia Provincial Junior Curling Championship from Lakeshore here in Sackville, Nova Scotia. Thanks to TV1 Bell, TV1 for streaming this for us. And I think we'll be signing off, and we'll be back for the ladies draw.
12 noon today.
At 12 noon. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Karen.